to the HerBusiness Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of women entrepreneurs making their mark. The topic of work-life balance comes up all the time within the HerBusiness network. How to achieve a work-life balance, how to improve work-life balance. Has anybody actually found that balance? Does it even exist? It's one of the top issues business owners struggle with, especially women business owners. How many times have you taken on tasks that could have been delegated to someone else? How often do you say, I'll just do it. It'll be faster if I do it. Now, women business owners in particular can become desensitized to that multitasking mindset, taking on the burdens and tasks of others to keep the ship afloat in both business and in our personal lives. But when we constantly take on these heavy loads, we can get stuck in the day-to-day and stop moving forward. We're left fighting these little fires that spring up all around us. We get stuck in the weeds because we're so great at multitasking and we make this priority that we actually lose sight of our bigger goals. And sometimes those big goals can disappear completely and we find ourselves strung out, overwhelmed, burnt out, feeling like we're heading anywhere but towards our goals. Now, today's podcast guest has found a way to help business owners stay focused and clear on their big picture goals. And she strives to connect with women who want to grow their businesses and have a life. She has actually struck that balance for herself. Her name is Megan Hyatt-Miller, and she's the CEO of Full Focus. Now, Megan and I are in the same mastermind, and she is definitely someone to learn from. She's got amazing insights and knowledge, and I'm really enjoying getting to know her, and I think you will too. Now, clarity and focus are everything to Megan, and Full Focus, the company of which she is the CEO, is a hub for productivity and goal achievement. So whether you're a solopreneur or you're in charge of a large team, focusing on and meeting your goals is always a challenge because as business owners, there's always 1,000 things on our to-do list, whether it's marketing or finances or management or meetings or more meetings. And that's just the work-related stuff. So it can be really hard to have all your ducks in a row. But Megan's clarity and focus are down to a science. And she's going to share some things with us that you're going to be able to implement right away. Because we want to create businesses that are thriving financially, but also that give us lives that feel like we are thriving. You'll hear Megan talk about the double win formula. This is about winning in business and in life. And this is such a great concept for us to not only listen to, but to actually start to implement. So we're going to be giving you some very specific things that you can do. We're also going to be talking about money. Right now inside the HerBusiness Network, we are focused on the money growth zone. This is one of 8 areas of business that every business owner needs to have working for them. And the reason we have this conversation, and I saw Megan last week and we had this conversation again since this interview was recorded. It was about the importance of growing a business that's thriving financially and as business owners making time to give clarity and focus to our numbers as well as delivering fantastic products and services. So I love this conversation. I know you all too. So let's now go to the interview with Megan Hyatt-Miller. Hey Megan, so nice to see you.
So nice to see you too, Susie. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited about a conversation that I think is so relevant to every woman growing and scaling a business. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking about some ways that I know your organization helps thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of women to be more productive, to have more clarity and focus, which I feel is at the most foundational level, such a key part to reaching our dreams. So our women are wanting to grow thriving and profitable businesses. How does the Full Focus approach address the unique challenges that women have when they're trying to balance growing a business with actually having a life?
Yeah, well, it's so important. And I think women are uniquely attuned to the need for both. You know, we call this at Full Focus the double win, winning at work and succeeding at life. Because if you succeed in your business, but you feel like you weren't present for your family or the people that you love, or you weren't taking care of your health, you know, what's it worth at the end of the day? So we are really advocating for what we consider the third option. You don't have to choose. You can win in your business in this case, and you can also succeed at the whole rest of your life, all the other domains of life that matter to you. And we do that at Full Focus through something that we call the double win formula. And it's basically 3 parts. And it is develop a life plan, so you know where you're going 10 years in the future and who you are and what your mission is and your values. So develop a life plan, and then set annual goals, which functionally become little milestones on the way to that 10-year vision. And then use the daily planner. So we have something called the Full Focus Planner. And in that planner, you're going to have the opportunity to plan each day at a high level and connect your daily tasks all the way back to your annual goals, which are going to move you toward the life that you envision 10 years into the future. And the problem for most of us as women who are business owners is that we get so stuck in the day-to-day, the firefighting, the problems that we need to solve in our personal life and our businesses, that we often don't put the things on our list that are going to move us towards what we really want personally and professionally.
I'm always surprised how many women don't have a very clear vision of what they want life and business to look like. And our system is the big picture vision, an annual plan, quarterly check-ins, and then we break it down to what am I doing today that's actually not squirreling away at some bright shiny object, but keeping us on track. So I love that double win idea. Yeah. As far as clarity and focus, why does having this system bring about more clarity and focus as it relates to our goal setting and our life plan?
Well, that's such a great way to think about it, because clarity really is the result. And one of the things that we deal with a lot as women business owners is decision fatigue, right? We're faced with decisions all day, every day, especially when you're the business owner. You may very likely be kind of the CEO of your home as well. And, you're just having to make hundreds of decisions, big and small, all the time, right? Well, when you have clarity, as you said, Susie, about where you're going, what you're committed to for this year, but where ultimately your life is driving toward, you don't have to come up with a criteria for every decision. What's important to me here? I don't know. I've got to think about it. And this is all usually happening kind of subconsciously. I'll give you an example. Around Christmas this year, we found out we had mold in our home, just like the kind of mold that you got to move out for. They've got to come in and tear walls out and all that. Just like very honestly traumatic. We had just put our Christmas tree up 2 days before, this beautiful tree. We had to throw everything in the car and get out of there and go stay in the carriage house behind my parents' house. So about 4,000 square feet down to 900 square feet. We're desperate to get back in our house. Well, since we were tearing walls out, we thought, do we want to put it back the same way? Do we want to do something different? And we started dreaming about what this house could become. We thought we want a wood-burning fireplace. We want a big banquette in the kitchen with a big table that we can have dinners at with our kids and ultimately their spouses and all of that. And really, when we were faced with, do we want to stay in the 900 square feet for, 4 to 5 more months? Or do we want to just go ahead and go back home, paint over, what they had to tear out and be done with it? It was really the vision that we have 10 years in the future for the kind of celebrations we want to have, the kind of conversations we want to have, the kind of, things that we want to nurture in our family that ultimately drove us to say it's worth it to make a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And that made the decision easier. And that's a big decision, but all the little decisions. Am I going to go on a walk this morning? Am I going to take time to plan my day? Am I going to throw my whole plan out the window because someone walked into my office or called me on the phone and they want me to solve this problem for them? Or am I going to say, can we reschedule that for later this week? Those are the kind of decisions that get easier when you know where you're going and why it matters to you.
I absolutely agree. I love that story. And I'm guessing you stayed with the discomfort for now, as you said.
That's right. We're at 900 square feet, all 5 of us, and 2 dogs.
But I love that. So you knew where you were going. And I think that sometimes we get into business, sometimes we fall into business, we've been retrenched or we've been raising children and now it's time to get back and we think, oh, well, I'll just do my own thing. And we just start trying to make a living. And I think until we can start to see further into the future, we can make a lot of decisions that aren't really aligned with our true values and purpose.
Yes, I think that's so true.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's so exhausting. Yeah. When we think about We only have so much energy. We want to invest that energy for a great return. If we're spending all our energy trying to make decisions, because every decision we have to start from zero and we don't kind of have a filter or a criteria that vision gives us, then we're stealing the best parts of ourselves from the parts of us that, we're committed to in the future. So I think there's a lot at stake.
When you're teaching the full focus program, I know that you have physical products, you have programs, you have books, you have a whole range of things. Are there some strategies that you can give us that kind of are kind of evergreen strategies? If you want more focus, more clarity, these are the three things you absolutely must do.
Yeah. Well, in my experience as both a teacher and a coach to a lot of people around this stuff, and personally as a mom of 5 kids, ages 23 to 5, what I have found is it's the little things that move the needle. So often when we get overwhelmed, we think we need some dramatic overhaul of our whole life. And in reality, what we need are simple practices usually. And so I'll tell you what it looks like for me. It looks like sitting down with my full focus planner every day and asking myself, what are the 3 non-negotiable tasks that I've got to accomplish today if I'm going to make progress towards the goals that I'm committed to for the year, which can ultimately drive forward the vision that I have 10 years in the future for my life. And just having the clarity of what are those 3, we call them the big 3. What are my big 3 for the day? First of all, it's the antidote to overwhelm. It really enables me to just bring the temperature down and say, okay, a win today looks like get these 3 things done. Now, sometimes I have to challenge myself not to be overly ambitious in those 3 things because, I can give myself a week's worth of things to do in those 3 things that, are not realistic. But it's so helpful. Instead of a list of 50 things that you're working from, just pick the 3 most important. If you do 3 important things that move your goals forward every day of the year, that's a lot of important things that you're going to do. So I would say that's the first one, that daily planning, identifying your daily big 3. On Sundays, I also do something in our full focus planner that we call the weekly preview. And I'm looking back at how the previous week has gone. Did I accomplish my weekly big 3? And also, what were my wins? I don't know about you, Susie, but I get to Friday, which is, the day that we're recording this on, and I don't even know what I did that week. I'm like, oh, I forgot on Monday I had that amazing meeting, or that somebody brought me those results and they were better than we thought they were, or I met this person at Starbucks and we really hit it off and I think they could be helpful in the future. I forget all that stuff, but when I take the time to go back through my calendar and write those down, it gives me confidence for the coming week. And then in that process, I review my calendar. I set my next weekly big 3. And what that does for me on Mondays is I'm just kind of like, okay, I have a plan. I'm not just coming in hot with my hair on fire. I actually know what I'm going to do in the morning. And so when my kids are, up in the morning and they're telling me they forgot they had a project and I'm making lunches and all the stuff that we're doing, if you've got kids first thing on a Monday, it's like I still have a plan and I can come back to that plan and recenter on it when I start my work day, and it becomes a really great productive day as a result.
I love that. I have that Sunday ritual as well. Although you've just given me an extra piece, I'll often just look at the week, look at what's scheduled, and start to put some big rocks in place. I don't often stop and celebrate the wins of the past, which, to be honest, I'll have to look at my calendar to remember
Me
what
too,
they were.
every time.
A crazy week and say, oh, I did that. Oh, that was this week.
Yeah, right. Wow, I totally forgot about that.
So that's a really great ritual. One of the things that I know can suck up a lot of our time is digital distractions. And I wondered if you had any specific tips for women business owners to cultivate a more focused sort of mindset and minimize those distractions.
Yeah, well, I love my phone as much as the next person, and it's a battle to keep that thing out of my hand and not get sucked in, to emails, to Instagram, whatever. What I have found with the full focus planner, and this is not intended to be a plug, it's just this is my workflow, is I keep that physical planner next to me. I'm in my office right now, but I have another room on the other side of these doors where I sit kind of in an armchair, and that's normally where I have my meetings and things like that. And on my little table, I just leave it open on the little table so that when I'm done with the meeting, I can reorient myself without having to hack my way through the digital jungle of my phone to go to some, app or whatever to see
interesting.
What are my things. It just helps me to say, okay, nothing else right now in this room is competing for my attention, except maybe my dog that I need to take out, Other than that, it's just me and it's my planner. And I can look at that and go, oh yeah, okay, next I need to work on, creating that slide deck for such and such. And that helps me to recenter throughout the day. It's not enough to just plan in the morning. You've actually got to come back to your plan because I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I think it's probably all of us. We get thrown kind of off our axis all day long. You got a sick kid at school or, somebody calls and like in our situation with renovation, the contractor needs me to pick out the stone for the countertop right now, and I'm like, whoa, what do I do? And that planner is like my compass. Nope. Remember you're going to do these things and you need to stay focused. And yeah, you can flex, but this is what you're committed to today.
I think that's really clever because the moment you go to Slack or your email or social to go, where am I meant to be?
Yes.
Rabbit warren, or rabbit hole.
Exactly.
It's just, you're all over the place. But having that, it's like a compass. It's like, okay, here I am. This is still where I am. I'm still here. I'm still here. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I want to talk about business more generally. And as someone who is growing and scaling a business, I know, and I see it all the time and I've done it. Sometimes we can hold on to a product or service or way of doing something in our business just because we've already invested so much time and money and energy and resources into it. You recently made a really brave decision to actually cut off a big chunk of income by retiring a product or service in the business. How did you approach, what had you finally decided to do that, knowing it was going to be maybe an impact on the bottom line? And how did you approach making such a big change? What are some of the thoughts you went through, some of the actions you took?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I went through a financial analysis. And so I basically created a product level P&L where I said, okay, what's the revenue coming in from this product? What are all the associated costs, in the different categories? And ultimately, how profitable is it? And what I realized is that the coaching part of our business, so we had two parts. We had the full focus planner side, and then we had a business coaching program called Business Accelerator. And the coaching program was not very profitable at all. Okay. And and part of the reason for that was that we did a lot of one-on-one coaching. We had about 25 contract coaches that worked with us and coached our clients. We had several hundred clients, and it basically did not scale well. It required a ton of human effort to manage that whole program, internally from our own staff, and it was very complex. And so we didn't enjoy it. We actually loved the people that we were working with. We loved the content, but it was kind of relentless. We had quarterly intensives that we produced in person. We had all these coaching calls that clients did every other week with their coaches. And it just took an army to pull it off. And so what we realized in that analysis financially is that the really profitable part of our business was the full focus planner side of it. And it's also what we just felt uniquely called to. I mean, it was where our heart was, that our mission is to make it nearly impossible for people not to get the double win, that idea we talked about at the beginning of winning at work and succeeding at life. And we felt like this coaching program was ultimately sucking up 80% of our time and attention and was producing 10% of the profit we were generating every year. And so it just didn't make sense. It was kind of like once we saw the black and white, of the financials, then we had to dig into it and say, but where's our heart? I think that's an important piece because the numbers don't tell the whole story. They tell an important part of the story, but not the whole story. And once we realized that our passion, our greatest proficiency, what we really feel like we bring into the world and have to contribute was aligned with the full focus planner part of the business and not the coaching side, we decided to sunset it. And so that decision we made kind of mid-year of 2023. And then we did another financial analysis of all those contracts and basically said, okay, the contingent liability is significant, meaning, we had contracts that were going to be unfulfilled by the time we were done at the end of the year. And so we said, okay, what's the optimal time to be done with this where we can do two things? One, minimize our financial contingent liability, but number two, finish well with people. We wanted our clients to not just feel like we phoned it in and like, we were coming in at the end of the day, just kind of rough and ready. We wanted it to be like totally a wow experience for them. And so we made that decision that we were going to do it 6 months later. And that gave us the time to end well, to celebrate. And it was fantastic. I don't think it could have gone better. The whole thing was very carefully orchestrated, and I'm so glad we did it. But it did feel scary at the time. And, we're still in the middle of the transition on the other side of it, continuing to ramp up more on the planner side of things and, the growth trajectory we have there. But it feels so much better to be singularly focused than have that focus divided, ironically, since we're called Full Focus.
Well, I think that, when we do have something that we might love it and we love the people and, we built this engine and, we thought this was the way we're going to go. And then when you did sunset, I can only imagine the amount of life force particles that came back, the amount of energy that came back that you can now channel into where your heart is. Yes. And without regrets, because you've left people in a great place, you still have wonderful ways to serve them, but you're also serving the company. And ultimately, the company needs to be served in order for you to continue to serve all those clients. I love that you did the financial analysis. I'm very big on women, not just growing businesses that make an impact, which is important, but also that are thriving financially. What sort of metrics do you have in your business to know that you're on track? Yeah. Obviously, profit and loss. Is there anything else?
Yeah, so definitely I'm looking at the P&L statement on a monthly basis. I just got that from our financial team for January today, as a matter of fact. But on a weekly basis, I'm looking at a 13-week cash flow forecast where we're basically saying, okay, what's coming in, what's going out, and where does that leave us from a cash position? Because cash is the lifeblood of every business, and the goal is not to run out of cash, right? And there is often strategy involved in that with timing. I mean, we have a business that has physical inventory, which has a significant capital impact on the business. And so we do have to be conscious of that. We run a lot of Facebook ads. So, those are two big categories for us. And I need to be able to see that, that's kind of like my instrument panel in the airplane as I'm flying as the CEO and as the co-owner of the business. And then the other thing I'm looking at is a weekly sales report. We have a data analyst in-house who produces this. And she's basically saying to me, okay, month to date, this is where we should be in this product category. And this is where we actually are. Are we ahead? Are we behind? Are we right on track? And then what about year to date? And so this is not like the full reconciliation that the accounting team provides with expenses and, all that kind of stuff. This is just more real time, pulled out of our payment processor. And it really helps me to make adjustments in real time if something's not working, or if I see, wow, that is killing it. I need to be really pouring the gas on that, then it helps me to see that too. And I think oftentimes what happens is, I've seen this with women. I see, I coach women CEOs, and I see sometimes that they can be a little hesitant about the financial statements. Maybe they just kind of read through them quickly, or they don't even, they're not even working with an accountant or with a financial leader of some type that's helping to produce those. And it's like you're flying blind. You're actually not as empowered as you could be if you had all that information at your fingertips to make good strategic decisions in your business.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack in that. I want to pick up on the cash flow piece, because in order to have, firstly, you're checking the cash flow every 5 weeks. The other thing is that you obviously, well, I'm going to guess here, Megan, but you plan the year so that you know when your big income times are, when the big expenses. And what I find is that with a lot of businesses, especially as they're growing, there isn't enough time spent on planning the year out so that you know when your peaks and troughs are going to be. And as you said, you could have $1 million business that goes bust because there's just no cash. And so so often women just focus on one number, revenue. I want $100,000 business. I want a $600,000. I want $1 million business. But there's so many, but like you said, cash is the lifeblood of the business. So really structuring your products and services, and physical products are their own animal, right? Because there's real cost. Something is sitting in a warehouse, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, I think that cash flow is super important and it's super empowering. I mean, I think about it like this is what helps me sleep at night, because if I know I've got money in the bank and things are good there, I've got the working capital I need to make the investments strategically in my business that I want to, that gives me confidence to just lean in instead of kind of hold back. And I think we don't realize sometimes how much the lack of awareness of these components of our business, like the financial side, how much that can negatively impact our ability to be creative, to take risks, to do new things in the world and contribute. When you have that kind of clarity, you feel like you're just really free to make decisions.
Right. And you said you're sleeping at night, which, allows for more creativity.
That's right.
From the work that you do coaching female CEOs and from the work and the heart of what Full Focus does, what would be your main couple of pieces of advice for women who they're starting to see the momentum in their business and they can see a future and they're at that tipping point?
Yeah.
What would you suggest they think about and do in order to maintain that momentum to keep moving towards their dreams?
Well, I think it's easy when you do pick up momentum to just kind of have a sense of scarcity about it. Like, I've got to lean in hard, and if I don't, this is going to fall through my hands, and then what? What I would say is you've got to decide at that critical point, what are your non-negotiables? For me, when my kids were younger, so I have 3 younger kids who are adopted. And when my middle children came home from Uganda, they had a lot of trauma. They had a lot of needs. I was pretty unprepared for that. But that was when our business was taking off. This is like a real world example here. I've got like in great tension, the needs of my family and the needs of my business. And what I decided was, I've got to be done every day by 3:00 because those boys need me. I'm going to structure my day in basically a 6-hour workday so I can be done by 3. And then when I'm home, I'm totally present. I'm making dinner, I'm doing homework at the counter, all that stuff. That for me is what I wanted. I wanted to have dinner at the table almost every night. Now that might be like ordering pizza or something. It doesn't have to be homemade every night, but that really mattered. I wanted to go on date nights with my husband. And so the reason I say that it's important to establish what are your non-negotiables now is because the more successful you become, the more competition for your time there is going to be. And it's going to be better and better things to spend your time on. And it gets harder and harder to say no. And if you don't have that clear vision for this is what I want, I'm not compromising this, then it'll creep in these kind of other people's agendas, other opportunities that may be great, but they're not your non-negotiables. And then you get to a place of regret. And that, I think, is the biggest risk. We want to have success without regret. We want to win at work and succeed at life. So you've got to answer for yourself. What does it mean for you to succeed at life? How do you know what that looks like? And I think that is probably the most important thing you can do if you find yourself at that tipping point.
At Her Business, Megan, we have a tagline which is do what you love every day. What does a day at work look like, an ideal day at work where you are doing what you love?
Yeah, I love that. It probably involves ideating and collaborating. So I have a fun situation where we have a family business. My dad is the founder of the business. He and I are business partners. But my husband is our chief product officer, and my youngest sister is our chief marketing officer. So we didn't actually set out to build this business as a family business. It kind of happened, and it's so much fun. I was just in a meeting right before I jumped on with you, Susie, with the two of them, and we were ideating about a newsletter that we want to create and really serve our audience with. And we're just better together. We get that whiteboard, you get the creative juices flowing, and it's really, really fun. And I think for me, that kind of collaboration with all the creativity in it, like what are we going to make to serve people that lines up with our mission? That's my favorite kind of day.
How fun, and to do that with people you love and adore. So much fun. Megan, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think I would just say if you're interested in learning more about what we do at Full Focus, if you're interested in, a life plan, if you're interested in setting goals or the daily planner part of what we do, you can just go to fullfocus.co and find out about all of it there.
Wonderful. We're going to put the links to all the different things that you can learn about Full Focus right next to this interview. Megan, once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Susie.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I loved taking time to speak with Megan. If there's one key piece from this session that really stuck with me, is the establishment of those daily goals. And as she says, every single morning she establishes the 3 big goals for her day, and those directly correlate with her life plan. I know for myself, distractions happen all the time. I'll get started in the morning and I'll see a message or an email that I got overnight, and rather than going through my established morning routine, some days I'll hop on my phone or my laptop and immediately address whatever has come up. And more often than not, that thing that's come up is going to lead to another task, which leads to another. And before I know it, I'm a couple of hours into the morning and I'm doing work that I could have delegated to someone else on my team. Right? And I've been practicing this for years. It's just easy to do this. And so this was such a great reminder. And I think a huge takeaway from this chat is to remember that our time is ours and that we can allot that time to the things that truly matter. As Megan said, we can save our energy and use it for tasks that are aligned with our big goals. Not that those small and unplanned for tasks and to-dos don't matter. Sometimes they do. But we can't let them take over our day. And having a firm grasp on our time and energy really makes long-term progress happen. If you don't already know this, Her Business is really about creating those long-term goals and strategizing them into smaller, achievable tasks. And so our members create year-long plans every year, and they attend quarterly strategy meetings where we check in on the progress of those yearly plans. We prioritize the education and learning that we need in order to have the skills to achieve those goals, and we structure our days and weeks and months, tapping in and getting the support we need, all around building a business that thrives, a business that we love, one where we have clarity and focus and where we are winning in business and in life. And I mentioned our quarterly meetings, we work on our growth plans at these meetings. So we talk about money, just like we did here with Megan. We look at what are my financial goals for the next quarter? What am I going to sell and to whom, in what quantities in order to get that? What sort of marketing do I need to do? How might I need to streamline my business to achieve my goals? And so much more. So if this sounds like something that you feel you could benefit from and that would really help you achieve your big goals, we have now made places available inside the Her Business Network, and you can learn more by heading over to herbusinessnetwork.com today. Just to give you a little heads up, we're running a bonus right now where you get our brand new small business finance course valued at $2,000 free when you join the network right now. So head on over to herbusinessnetwork.com. Now, I know you're going to want to learn more about Full Focus and more about Megan. So over at herbusiness.com/257, that's herbusiness.com/257, you'll find a summary of what we've covered in today's episode. So join us for the next episode for more inspiring stories and lessons from successful female entrepreneurs. I love doing this show for you, and I appreciate you listening and sharing with your friends. And anytime I get a comment from you, I'm just so thrilled. It makes my day. Now, recently we had an episode which was all about intuition in business. And one of our listeners sent me a private note. Her name is Brooke McCullum from Sockable Fundraising, to say that it was such a good podcast with Shanae. So we'll put a link to that episode inside the show notes so that you can check it out if you're interested in tapping into your intuition for business. And thank you, Brooke, for the shout out. So if you've got an idea or a question about an upcoming episode, you can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. You can head on over to Apple and leave us a rating or review. All that love is much appreciated, and join me next time right here on the Her Business Podcast for more great tips and strategies to help you grow your business. Bye for now.